Hi guys, Mark here. Welcome. Today we're continuing our journey in the world of globe knots. This video is still not going to be covering a specific globe knot, but it's going to show you how to prepare the mandrel, how to prepare the cord, and how to read the instructions for tying a globe knot. Globe knots can be tied on various shapes of a core, from a cube, cone, cylinder. Obviously, the sphere is the most common one. When describing a globe knot, we usually state the number of facets, or faces, or surfaces. So this particular knot has 40 facets. So, one of these surfaces is a facet, the knot has 40. The other thing that we express when describing a globe knot is the number of passes. This particular knot, as you can see, has 3 cords running parallel through the knot. So this is a 3-pass, 40-faceted globe knot, tied on a sphere. In the previous video, I covered the process of making a globe knot mandrel. The next step is to mark it down. Now this is going to depend on the way that you use your mandrel. Some people like to hold it like this. So, let's say vertically, some like to use it horizontally. All in all, it doesn't matter, just the marking changes a little bit. First thing that we're going to do is mark down the rows. With the rows, we use letters. This would be the first row, A, the second row, B, the third row, C, the fourth row, D, and on the other side, we then have E, F, G, H. In my case, I'm going to be using my mandrel like this, horizontally, so I'm going to mark down my rows A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. When it comes to numbers, numbers are going to represent the columns. Usually we start our knot here at this additional hole where our working end passes through. So this would be column 1. Then, depending on the direction that you're using for your tying, you mark down your second column, the third one, and the final fourth one, at least in this case. So, that's the way that you mark down a globe knot mandrel. Next, we're going to set up the pins. For this, usually, we have this sort of a description here. If we compare, A and B rows don't have any pins in them. C, D, E, F have all the pins, and the G and H rows are again empty. So we need to fill out these 4 rows here using pins. So we take our hex wrench and we simply start bringing out our pins. Now this particular pin setup is for this specific knot, so this is just an example. First row, these 4 pins. Second row, exact same thing. So our pin setup. The cord needed to tie a specific globe knot is either going to be stated in the instructions, or you need to figure it out by actually trying the knot. Once you have the length fairly figured out, the way that we partition our cord is like this. First, we take a look at the number of passes in the knot. So in this case, we have a 3-pass knot, meaning that 1/3 of our cord is needed to tie a single pass of our knot. So that's the amount of cord that we're going to be using. So 1/3 of the cord for a single pass of our knot. So I measured out 1/3 of the required cord, like this. This is our working end. The rest of the cord I usually just coil up. I finish up with a hitch, holding my cord in place. So 2/3 of my cord is in this coil, the rest, so 1/3 in the working end. I can now grab my mandrel, find this starting position, feed my working end through. Like this. This is the way that I set up my cord for the tying process. One item that I highly recommend using is a lacing needle. This one makes tying the knot a ton easier. So absolutely get one, they are easy to find online. What you do is you melt your cord into a mushroom shape here, then simply screw on the lacing needle tightly so that the cord doesn't slip out. Reading as well as following a run list is quite intuitive, but it takes a tiny bit of getting used to. So here we start with our first move from C1 to E3. We are starting at 1. C is the first pin here, so C1, 2. The third column around E. So A, B, C, D, E. Then the second move from E3 to D4. So to the fourth column, to the pin D. So A, B, C, D. So around here. Then from D4 to F2 to the second column to F. A, B, C, D, E, F. Then the next move from F2 to C4 to the fourth column, and we have an under. Traveling to the left, we're going to encounter a single chord and go under it. So again, from F2 to C4. Like this. Fourth column, ABC. Then from C4 to E2. The second column to E. Then from E2 to D3 with an over. So we're going to encounter a single chord, go over it, all the way to D3. So the third column up to D. Then from D3 to F1, under over, under over, to F1. So the first column up to F. From F1 to C3, over, then under 2. So we encounter 3 chords, we go over the first one, then under the second and third chord. From F1 to C3. So the third column, C. So at this point, I think you got the hang of how this kind of a knot is tied. Let's do 1, maybe 2 more moves, then we're going to continue at the fully tied knot. From C3 to E1, over under. Over under. To E1. So first column, E1. From E1 to D2, under, over 2. Once you reach the starting point of your knot, so in our case C1, the knot is pretty much tied. Place your working end next to the standing end, then work the rest of the slack in the working end into the knot, beginning to double it up. You will run out of cord in the working end really fast. We switch to the standing end. So now, with the standing end, we simply follow our working end through the knot, doubling up our knot. So when the standing and working end meet up, we have effectively doubled up our knot. The next step is going to be to sink in all of our screws, then tighten up our knot a little bit. After sinking all of our screws back into the mandrel, we bunch up our knot a little bit, then remove some slack. I'm going to begin at my working end, going through the knot, working the slack into the standing end. So this was one pass of pre-transfer tightening. Now the point here is to remove as much slack as possible before transferring our knot onto the core. This makes the tightening process on the core a lot easier. So here I'm going to repeat the same process for a second time, just to remove as much slack as possible. At that point, we're going to transfer our knot onto the core. So after 2 passes of tightening on the mandrel, I'm going to slide my knot onto the core, then do some more tightening. So shape up your knot a little bit, then begin tightening up. Just to start the form of a sphere. So finally, we have tightened up our globe knot. Only at this point, we're adding the final pass. With the standing long end, we triple up our knot. When you reach your other end again, you have effectively tripled up your knot. So this finishes up our globe knot. We have now covered the tying process of a globe knot. From here on, expect various globe knot tutorials as well as globe knot projects. For now, thank you for joining me and see you next time.